Hey everybody, welcome back to PCW Rewind. I'm your host CQ. This is where we get to take a look back at some of my all-time favorite interviews and celebrity guest appearances from my live show, Pop Culture Warrior. For those of you that are new here, you can catch the live show every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on pretty much every social media platform. Just search for WTF Nation Radio. And if you are new, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, so you never miss when we share awesome new celebrity guest interviews every week. In this episode, I sat down with the most incredibly down-to-earth, funny, genuine guy you'll ever meet. The multi-talented host of the 4-time Emmy-nominated American Ninja Warrior, Matt Iseman. He's an actor, a comedian, all-around prolific host. He's an incredible guy, and this was a phenomenal interview. We talked all about his early years and how he got into the entertainment industry. How few people know that before pursuing comedy and television, he was actually a well-educated doctor with a BA from Princeton and an actual MD from Columbia University. In fact, it was during his med school time that he started trying out stand-up comedy. Now, although he did share one story about like why he would have needed that medical knowledge during the filming of American Ninja Warrior, but I'll let you see that for yourself. We talked also about how 2 times, out of the 2 times he himself stepped up on the course, one time he broke his foot, the other time he broke his ankle. So don't expect him to be out there on the course anytime soon. He really shared so many great behind the scenes stories and information. This really was an incredible interview, and I had a blast, and I can't wait to talk to him again. So without further ado, please enjoy the Pop Culture Warrior interview of Matt Iseman. Super happy to have you guys back, and you guys are in for a treat. My guest tonight is multi-talented comedian, actor, host of the 4-time Emmy-nominated sports entertainment / competition wildness show of, okay, I'm going to do this right, hold on. American Ninja Warrior. Everyone, please give a warm WTF Nation Radio to Matt Iseman. What's up, buddy? I'm good, man. I appreciate it. I've been working on that. I'm trying to stop the applause. There it goes. Okay, we're good now. Yeah, man. I wanted to do you justice, buddy. I respect the game. I respect what you do. Your voice is synonymous with the show, right? Like you do that every
bananas. Really, it's amazing to have that and to be able to walk around like my niece. I'll go around with my niece who's 7, and we'll be out, and she's like, tell people you're famous. I'm like, well, that's not how it works. But if I do this, Claire, if I go American Ninja Warrior, then people know who I am.
That's so awesome. See, I didn't want to ask you to do it, but I'm glad you did.
Listen, I'm like one of those dolls. I just pull my own string. I'm happy to do it.
Oh my God, that's phenomenal.
I'm amazed, honestly. I've been out here. I've been doing this business a long time, and it's nice to have something that people recognize and seem to respond to. So I'm lucky. I'm happy that it's nice to be known for something.
Yeah, right. I tell you about it.
It's positive.
Yeah, no, like if somebody came up to me and were like, "Oh, you're that guy from that web show that not a lot of people watch," I'd be like, "Yeah, that's me. I'm excited." But no, I really do appreciate you coming on the show. I mean, again, everybody's super excited for it. So real quick, obviously, this is a very military affiliated, veteran friendly show. A lot of military service members. I always first ask, do you have any connections to the military, family members, friends, anything like that?
Yeah, my dad's a Navy vet, served. He's a doctor, and so did a lot of. It was interesting because when we were growing up, he couldn't tell us what he did because it was classified.
Ooh.
But he was out in the Pacific Ocean around. He was stationed in Pearl Harbor. They would go out near the Bikini Atoll. They were doing biological warfare testing, trying to see if they could protect ships against airborne pathogens, things like anthrax. So he was really doing some cool stuff that he couldn't tell us about until Freedom of Information Act, till everything kind of transpired. But I credit my dad because he maintained that veil of secrecy, which was good. And then one of my good friends who kind of brought us together, PJ Walsh, he's a Navy vet and a comedy guy. And he was the one who really got me into going overseas to do shows for the troops.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And so before we really get into the meat of the interview here, the expose, what's been quarantine life for you? How have you been doing? What have you got? What do you got going on?
You know, it's up and down, right? It's up and down. I mean, at the beginning, I remember I was just in bed playing video games, ordering takeout, and then I started to cook. I've started working out. I got lucky. I've been pretty healthy throughout this, and I've been able to work. We were able to shoot our season 12 of American Ninja Warrior. We actually did it during the pandemic. We were able to pull that off, and I'm hosting a show on A&E called Live Rescue, where we follow paramedics, firefighters, and EMTs live every Friday night for 3 hours. And I've been able to do that, shooting it in my guest bedroom and do it from here, from in LA. Normally, I was flying out to New York every week. So I've been very fortunate to be working. I think the challenge, the challenge has just been is not seeing people nearly as much.
Right.
I miss seeing my family. You Skype, you Zoom, you do these calls, but it's just not the same as seeing people in person. And I think I made a few trips back to Denver to check in on my parents, which was great. And it was able to do just trying to make a point of seeing people where it's been so precious during this pandemic. And I think that's the thing. I'm single, I'm not married, don't have kids. So I think the loneliness just takes its toll, where you're on social media, you feel connected, but sometimes like, I just want to see somebody.
Yes. I just want to feel some warmth. I want to touch. Yeah. I want to hold. Absolutely.
I think that's been what a lot of people have said. It's just kind of that sense of isolation during this has been kind of profound.
So now I keyed in on something you said. I could not imagine you playing video games. So what? Just only because, no offense, only because of how busy you are. You seem to be involved in so many things. What do you play?
Well, I just got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which
nice.
I think today is the first day it dropped.
Yes.
I actually just booted up, which is always a good sign. I'm waiting for a PS5, so I'm still playing on PS4.
Okay.
I love those first-person exploration games, role-playing games. Fantastic. So I get deep into it. Any Red Dead Redemption, any of those games.
Absolutely.
I don't do any of the shooters. I don't do Call of Duty. I don't do any of that because I'm not fast enough. All the little kids, they're sniping you from 1,000 yards away before
and
you know what's going on. They're trash talking you. They're
so mean.
I don't need that. I like games where I go at my own pace.
Although you could screw with a lot of people by just screaming out one-liners. American, just got killed by American.
I just killed the guy from American Ninja Warrior. Suck it, dude. You got me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so that's so cool. Thank you. So you're originally from Denver, Colorado. That's where you're born. And you kind of touched on it, but I found, I did a little digging. I wanted to learn a little bit about you, and I found out the most fascinating thing that, we all know you from TV. We know you from comedy. We know you from acting, but that you followed, before all that, you followed your father into the medical career. You got your BA.
I'm a doctor.
You're a doctor. You got your BA with honors from Princeton. You got your MD from Columbia University. I mean, what? Why?
I'm impressed. Yeah, there's a lot of wasted education here. Growing up, I thought I was going down one path. I thought I was going to become a doctor and save lives and help people, and I did. I became a doctor. And I realized I kind of
didn't like people.
Had this epiphany one day that my heart wasn't in it. And it's not a job, it's a calling.
Sure.
It really is. It's a sacred trust. People's lives are in your hands. And I just realized my heart wasn't in it in the way where I felt good about how I was, this trust with my patients. And even for myself, I didn't like the way I was feeling. And feeling like I was a fraud going into the hospital because I didn't feel that committed about it. So I decided to take some time off, and I wanted to do something completely removed from medicine. And I'd done stand-up a couple times in med school, and I thought, I'll go to LA. I'll do stand-up for a year, and I'll get it out of my system. I'll grow up, I'll go back to medicine, be a doctor, become a responsible human being. Instead, I'm like, screw this. I'm telling jokes for the rest of my life. I got lucky in Hollywood. One thing led to another. And I'm in my 12th year hosting American Ninja Warrior. I'm doing live rescue, telling jokes. And particularly during this pandemic, when my friends are on the front lines, like so many of our frontline workers,
Sure.
my buddies who are still doctors, they're out there doing it. And it really gave me just a sense of gratitude for the fact that I was able to make this move, the fact that I love it so much, that it worked out. And I'm so thankful for everyone who stayed, who are these frontline heroes, the people we highlight on Live Rescue, my friends who are doctors, people who've been out there, even people, the cashiers, the checkout clerks,
sure,
who've been doing it in this pandemic. But it really highlighted to me how important it is to be those healthcare workers. But if I just didn't feel that was where I belonged, and I found where I belong. I love what I do. I love stand-up comedy. I love hosting Ninja Warrior. I love getting to tell stories. I love getting to make people laugh, getting to entertain them. So
yeah.
I'm so happy with the move I made. I think I don't regret becoming a doctor. I mean, it would have been cheaper if I'd made this realization earlier, but I think it really kind of shaped who I am. And it gave me a perspective too. In Hollywood, so often we treat entertainment like it's life or death, but it's not. I've seen that. We've seen that as veterans. You've seen what true life and death is. We're talking about ninjas. We're telling jokes. It's really I'm lucky to have found something I love and to be able to do it and have a fair amount of success.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, I'm trying to wrap my head around, okay, how about this? I got one for you. Do you think you could have been more successful by now had you quit medicine earlier?
I don't know. Look, I don't know. I tease. I tease. Imagine if I'd said coming out of college, or even if I just out of high school said, you know what, I'm meant to be in Hollywood and gone out here. I don't know. I don't know if I would have had the maturity. I think that going through medical school in particular was very formative in that it required such an unbelievable amount of discipline and hard work and seriousness and and this ability of handling stressful situations and handling massive amounts of information and things that, as a host, make the job as a host seem easy in comparison to what you would have to do when you were a doctor. So I think that it probably gave me, honed me and matured me as a human. The other thing I think that was really important in this town in Hollywood, this is a town of no. It's a business of rejection. It's a business of failure. This is, you get told no 99 times. You get told you're not talented or you're not told anything. You just don't get the job. And I think when I came out here as a doctor, having earned my MD, I already had a sense of self. I think
sure.
that the no, it allowed me to handle the no's and the rejections and the random people on Twitter telling me your voice isn't as cool as you think it is. It allowed me to handle that a lot better, which I think is really key to having longevity in this business, is being able to to withstand the ups and downs and to have that sense of, and not to have your sense of identity defined by your success or lack of success in work.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. So last one on this topic is that, so, if there's someone out there, we do have a lot of, military folk watching. We have a lot of veterans that maybe have transitioned out watching. If there's that person that maybe has that dream, whatever it be, what kind of motivation, what gave you that courage to take such a drastic step, and what advice do you have for them?
For me, it was just this feeling of, what I was doing in medicine, it didn't sit right. We all have this, I think, intuition that, or whatever it is, this sense of your place. And I just didn't feel when I was in medicine that this was my place. And I think that it just kind of was gnawing at me, this sense of not only is this wrong, that I think there's something out there. And it wasn't that I knew comedy was going to be it or performing was it. I was very lucky to kind of have had a hint of it and then to discover it and been right. But I think, we often, you got to listen to yourself. I think that very often, we try to intellectualize things or rationalize it. And sometimes that's good. but sometimes there really is a voice, I think, inside of us, or some sense inside of us that is trying to guide us to where we should be. And you know, I don't think it's a mystical journey. It's just a sense of you have interactions in life, or you have opportunities that I think bring out that when you, because, you know, even in medicine, you are performing somewhat when you're presenting to your doctors. You have a chance to give lectures or presentations. You get a sense of, so I even almost had a sense of performing within medicine. And I think, you know, whatever it is you are doing, if you have this sense that there's something more, or you have an idea of what you want to do, I think listening to it, and here's the secret. There is no secret. It's just do it. There's no substitute, and there's no planning. And I'm not saying like quit your job, walk out and, you know, go become a ski bum or start painting, but it is to say, I'm going to commit to start doing this thing that I think could be great, and figuring out how you do it, whether it's carving out time, but making that commitment to doing it. Because the thing I found is I moved out here and I really gave myself a year to be in Hollywood, to say, all right, either, you know, just do this for a year and then go back to medicine, or figure it out. But you're not just going to spend 8 years out here and then go, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's like either really commit and do it, or don't. But within a matter of weeks of being out and doing stand-up comedy, something in me clicked, and I said, this is it. This is what I'm meant to do. And once I felt that, it was easy to just dig my heels in and say, now I'm going to work. Now I'm going to throw myself into this and do whatever it takes to make something happen and find a way to keep doing this. And I think it's kind of making that choice to say, when you listen to yourself, if you think that there could be something more out there, and then taking a swing and you know, do it with baby steps, but you have to start doing it, because the reality is there's never going to be a perfect time. There's never going to be a time when the stars align, or when it's like, you know, this will wind down and I'll have a vacation or something. It's those perfect moments in life rarely arise. It's something you kind of you have to make happen. And the sooner you start doing it, I think the sooner you'll come to the realization of either, yes, this is what I meant to do, or it's not, but let me keep searching. Let me find that thing that does ignite that fire inside, that thing that makes you want to jump up and tackle life and be like, I'm excited about what I'm doing. Is where you're like, I look, what I do is not exactly hard, but at the same time, I never feel like it's work. Right. I love what I do. I love performing, and when I get to do it, I feel like this is it. This is when I'm on. It feels like it's, and I'm so glad that I found that.
Yeah, you're most alive.
It's something you wish everyone could do, and I'm lucky. It would have been so easy for me, I think, to just say, you know what, I'm just going to stick with medicine. This is the responsible, sane thing to do. And I'm sure I would have found a way to exist and survive and find a happy life. But I don't think I would have been as happy as I am doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, following your passion and what you love. We got questions just pouring in too. So first, okay, so you can't see my background. Obviously, the audience can. One of the fans called out to see, we should have a competition of who has the more interesting stuff in the background. I give it to you. I've got stuff I've bought online. You obviously your background is full of cherished memories and accolades.
This is
I'm
my
sure.
Office, so it's a whole lot of me. Yeah, like, you know, this is the original poster from Ninja Warrior. This was something. I did a home makeover show called Clean House, and a big fan of the show showed up at one of our yard sales and made this model for me. I did Woody Page's podcast, and he sent me an around the horn chalkboard, and you know, this was from a World Series game I got to go to with a buddy, and yeah, and you know, I think that's one of the things. I'm a very nostalgic guy. My office is filled with these little touchstones, these memories of things, of some really great moments, and I really, you know, it's nice to be able to kind of look back and say, this happened because I made that leap. All these memories, these incredible opportunities kind of came about because I was able to take that first jump, you know, not knowing if I was going to soar or if I was going to fall.
Absolutely. And we did have a question that said, what was your practice while you were a doctor?
So I was doing internal medicine. I was training at the University of Colorado. I'm licensed as a general practitioner, but at this point I am useless. You'd be better off just doing WebMD or just throwing leeches on it. It's been a while since I've practiced any medicine. but I still have the stethoscope and the white coat. So there's that.
Okay. Let's see. So, Matt, are you fit enough to compete during a Ninja Warrior competition?
No, and I will just say this: I don't think I ever was. So Ninja Warrior is just it's such a unique challenge, and it really favors very lean people.
Sure.
I'm not lean. Husky is a generous adjective to describe me.
Right.
I have rheumatoid arthritis too, so I have my bones are a little. Some of them have been a little chewed up. So I've broken my foot and broken my ankle the last 2 times I was on the course. So they've really said, we're good. You don't need to ever try any of those obstacles again. You just stick to talking about it. And I agreed.
There you go. There's a reason you're the voice of Ninja Warrior.
That's it. Yeah. I'm not going to be commenting while I'm on the course. I'm not up for that.
So another fan says, my question is obviously, I'm sure your dad is very proud of you now, but when you made that choice, that very dangerous, scary choice of that career change, how was the reception there?
I think that was the hardest part, was telling my dad. I have such respect for my dad. He's a doctor, and he was a professor at the University of Colorado where I was training. So he was seeing me on a regular basis. And I think telling him was the hardest part. I think it was the greatest fear I had. And, I remember when I sat him down and I said, I'm going to take some time from medicine. I want to try stand-up comedy. And it took me a month to actually work up to tell he and my mom that. And the first words my dad said were, life is short. Do what makes you happy.
Oh, wow.
And he meant it, and he supported me in it. But when he said that, it was just like the weight was lifted. And after that, everything, it was just, it was like the foot was on the accelerator pedal when I moved out to LA. With having his blessing was really important to me, I think, and to allowing me kind of to even think of coming out here to do it. So they've been really supportive. They watch all the shows. I know periodically when I was on RuPaul's Celebrity Drag Race as a enormous drag queen, and my dad probably is looking, there's my son, the doctor, out there, but he sees how much joy all of this brings me. So
sure, that was a well-earned, well established career there. Yes. Here's I love this one. With your doctor brain, do you ever see people go down in the competition and go I know what happened there?
Well, I have an idea. It's interesting. So we actually had someone separate a shoulder once, and they were on the course, and you could see them go down, and you could see the pain they were in, and they start going, "Hey, Dr. Matt, what are you going to do?" And I'm like, 1 second here, and as I'm thinking oh my God, am I really going to have to? And we had medics; they were coming. One of our other competitors at the time was an active ER physician. And he immediately took a look at the guy, put the shoulder back in the joint, popped it right back in, took a look at me. He goes, I got this one. I'm like, okay, I'll get the next one then. So thank God. I have an idea with it, but my amateur diagnostic skills from afar, they're a little rusty. So sure. I try not to play doctor too much.
Sure. All right. Well, I'm gonna get back to the script now. Guys, if you got more questions, keep them coming in. These are awesome questions. But so jumping back into, you made the switch from being a doctor into, and your first foray was kind of into comedy. I know that you started kind of comedy full time in 2002. You got together, started doing improv with the Groundlings, which is, historic with the talent that's come out of there. I was looking through some stuff, and I saw that you performed stand-up comedy for in the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, and that's in 2002. That's the same year you kind of started full time. How do you go from let me try this to I'm performing at the Winter Olympics?
Well, it's due to one, PJ Walsh, because PJ introduced us to a club in Utah called Wise Guys, and Keith Stubbs is the owner of the club out there, and he was a comedian who opened up a comedy club. But for those who are familiar with comedy, a lot of club owners, are in it for the money, but Keith, having been a comedian, really looked out for the comics, and so he had a comedy contest called the Rocky Mountain Laugh Off. That was in, I think it was August of 2001. And so I went out there with PJ Walsh. We did this contest. We had a blast. We did okay. And at the end of it, Keith said, hey, I think you're ready to headline. I'm like, I have 15 minutes of comedy. He goes, I'm gonna headline you in October, so about 2 months. He's like, and you'll be ready. And so I just started writing fiercely. Gives me this headlining gig, goes well, but I have such a blast with it. And then, so I become friends with Keith in the Winter Olympics are in Salt Lake City. Keith is big in Salt Lake City. He ends up getting gets a chance for a handful of comedians to come perform in the Athletes Village. And for some reason, I must have been around, and he's like, do you want to do this? So PJ and I were two of the comedians who got to go perform in the Athletes Village, and it was amazing. Except apparently there was like a concert going on. So anyone who spoke English went to some concert. The only people who showed up were people from other countries who didn't apparently know there was a concert going on. So we're performing and people are kind of staring blankly at us. There were some Argentinian bobsledders who just kind of were chuckling at everything. And it wasn't the best show, but it was a show I'll never forget. We ended up getting like honorary medals for performing there. And we ended up going to a medal ceremony, and it was incredible. And now, kind of coming full circle, it looks like for the 2020 Olympics, which will now be in 2021 in Tokyo, I'm actually going to be hosting a show for NBC there, a daily show for NBC. So it kind of is coming full circle back to the Olympics.
So why did I not see anywhere on your IMDb or your resumes, your wiki page that you medaled in the Olympics? I think
that's right.
That right.
Should be. Technically, we kind of did. It's the honorary medal, but you're right. I should put it on a big ribbon and wear it around.
Yes, man, absolutely. We're gonna somebody in the audience update the wiki. He medaled in the Olympics 2002. All right, so obviously, like you said, you know PJ Walsh. I do want to touch on that I got introduced to PJ Walsh through an amazing program for veterans, family members, and it's called ASAP, Armed Services Arts Partnership. We've had a bunch of the Warrior comedians come on the show and do their material. Obviously, PJ's been here. He's awesome. Obviously, you talked that your father was a veteran. Was it an easy decision when they said, "Hey, we want you to be an ambassador. We want you to get involved"?
It was because it happened where. So the first interaction I had with him, PJ had been telling me about the group and just sounded amazing. And then I was out in Virginia Beach with PJ, and they were doing a seminar at the comedy. We were working the comedy club, and they were going to do a seminar. And PJ's like, "Hey, do you want to come?" And they're vets working on material. And so we go, and it was just amazing to see, and for those who don't know, Armed Services Arts Partnerships, the whole point is to use the arts to help people transition back into civilian life. And to see these soldiers using comedy or using storytelling or music or whatever, but particularly to see them doing comedy to kind of help figure out their ways to express everything that's going on in their lives and everything that they're dealing with. It's similar to where you comedy, it seems like a joking matter, but for so many people, whether it's those of us performing or whether it's those who are seeing it, it can be so therapeutic to use laughter. Because that was one of the things, like even as a doctor and with my brushes with illness, with rheumatoid arthritis and cancer, you realize when in situations when you're dealing with so much emotion, you have to figure out how to handle it. And a lot of times you can stifle it and let it eat you away. You can cry, you can get angry, or you can try to laugh. And I've always found that comedy is so amazing that no matter how much you're hurting, if you can laugh, it just reminds you that you're alive and that there are good feelings inside of you. And to be a part of ASAP and to see these soldiers coming out and to see, and how funny they were and how committed and disciplined they were. After that, I've done quite a few more events. I've been in DC, been able to do some sit downs with the group, do one of their charity events. And it's always amazing just seeing the passion. And for me, PJ and I met when we both moved out to LA September 1st, 1999. And we met a few weeks later. We eventually pieced it out that we moved out on the same day. And we were just, we always say we were in the trenches together, obviously metaphorically, but in that comedy starting out, and to see these soldiers find that camaraderie of a group of people starting out when you do with comedy of having a group of people where you share ideas, you collaborate together, you elevate each other. It was so great to see, to try to encourage that community through the Armed Services Arts Partnership. So it's an honor to get to be an ambassador for that group.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I participated in the. That's how I kind of got to know PJ. I participated in the comedy boot camp and did my own stand up. Did a couple, Gotham and Funny Bone here and there.
Nice.
No big deal. No, just flexing. No, it's okay. Do you ever get like people that are like, hey, you do comedy? Here's my set. Can you give me feedback? You ever get that?
Not much, but I'm all as long as it's not like a 45-minute set. I'm you always there was always kindness that was shown to you by people farther along in the journey, and you always like to pay that back, pay it forward, I guess, and try to encourage other people to do it. And that's what with ASAP, I think you kind of get that sense of, and a lot of times it's like, look, you don't need help with jokes. Sometimes you just need the validation, like, hey, you're funny. This is good. I'll give you a couple tips on this, but you're going to discover it. It's just so much of it, I think, is just validating people and saying, hey, especially on nights when you bomb, going, we've all been there. We've all gotten no laughs. And that's, use it, fuel it, write it, because tomorrow night you can go out and destroy. And I think just there is so much of that when you just kind of, and I remember when I was starting out, there were times you were so nervous going out there. And I remember once I got to meet Brian Regan, and he just said, hey, you're funny. He hadn't seen me tell a joke. I knew he hadn't seen me tell a joke. But when he said, hey, you're funny, and I was like, he thinks I'm funny, then I'm going to be funny.
There you go.
And it's those little moments, those kindnesses that it's awesome to get to do. Because, comedy is a grind. And it's a solitary pursuit. So you really got to find your tribe when you're doing it.
That's so great. And again, back to ASAP, they do such a great job building a community. Really of it. And I always like to say that, like, when I was telling jokes, when I was writing jokes, like the seed was mine, but so many people got to water it, right? Many people got to, help it grow and build it and make it something, that flourishes and whatnot. So I'm just curious, obviously you spent a lot of time on the road. You've done so many things. Is there any memorable stories, any crazy fan encounters that you want to regale us with? This is no censored, by the way.
Not as many crazy fan encounters as I would like. I mean, there are always some great shows. I remember, the shows for the troops are always amazing. Sometimes because of the location. We got to go to Iraq, and we're in Baghdad. We're at one of Saddam Hussein's palaces, and we're staying in his palace, performing in like a flatbed truck in the courtyard, and when you're there thinking we're at war here, and you get to perform for the troops in Saddam Hussein's palace, moments like that where you think there is no other scenario in my life that I could imagine where I would get to go to this palace other than through comedy, through this path that I've chosen. And it's even to, so I do a show called Live Rescue where we follow firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs. One of the groups we follow is out in San Bernardino County Fire. And today they had me out to do some wildfire training. So I'm out there with these guys. We're cutting a hand line. We're digging out soil. They actually had a controlled burn going, and I'm pulling hose and hosing it down. And then I'm driving a bulldozer, clearing out land. And I'm just thinking, this is stuff that I've been afforded some incredible opportunities because of this career I have. And, I guess one of the things I always try to do is just realize how lucky I am and appreciate these incredible things. I got to go on Celebrity Apprentice with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was the new boss. The old boss got a new job. Now he's looking for another job, apparently. But I got to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger and meet Vince Neil from Motley Crue and stay in touch with them and do some awesome charity events with them. And it's been, when I was in medicine, I never could have envisioned leading the life that I have now.
Yeah.
But I still made that leap, and I'm when I look around at the things I've gotten to do and how much I've enjoyed this path, I've been in like a period of reflection and gratitude.
Sure.
Lately. My birthday's coming up, so I think we're all kind of reflecting on those moments.
There you go.
With the pandemic too. So
and I always tell people too, when they come on the show, this is very much of like, this was your life. Like, this is a very reflective show.
Yeah.
We got a question coming in that let's see, what's the funniest thing that you've ever seen or have done that's not in the material? Maybe something that, I'm going to put a spin on it, but something that you would love to use in your material that maybe you just haven't fashioned
There are
it
a
yet?
lot of things in the hospital that happen. So soldiers, I'm sure, will understand this, or people who are in life and death jobs. You have a gallows humor. It's just the way that you deal with a lot of the stress of dealing with life or death situations. And there are times in the hospital when the only way you're getting through some things is some completely inappropriate humor that I wish I could share, but you just couldn't, because people would be like, that is terrible. How would you? You're like, no. In the context, that's how we dealt with the stress of this life or death situation. So, I will say there was one. I think I can tell this. So I did medical school at Columbia, New York. We would rotate through Harlem Hospital, and I was in there on the ICU, and I had a patient who'd had a heart attack 2 days before. So I go in the morning to check on him, and his bed is empty. And I'm like, what happened to him? The nurse goes, I don't know. He must have, he's stuck out of his bed. So I go searching for this patient. We start a manhunt within the hospital. Cause like, this guy, he needs to be monitored. He just had a heart attack. He's not in any condition to do this. I get a call from a nurse who goes, yeah, we found him. He was down on the dialysis floor in bed having sex with the patient who was getting dialysis. I'm like, this guy just had a heart attack. He's in the hospital having more sex than I am when I was in med school. And I thought, I'm not doing this right. I gotta get out to Hollywood.
Wow. That's some.
Oh, and then the capper was, we found an empty crack vial in his bed. So he was out 2 days after a heart attack, doing crack, having sex in the hospital while I was searching for him.
Wow. That's that
guy knew how to have a good time in the hospital. I, on the other hand, did not.
I've been going to the hospital wrong all these years.
Long, CQ. What were we doing?
I don't know. Okay, so let's, obviously everybody really, knows you from American Ninja Warrior. So you've been a part of the show every season minus season 1.
Yes.
And now I'm curious, before you booked the gig, I'll be honest, going back to the G4 days, I was watching Sasuke and all the kind of hilarious version of it, and then seeing it transition into America. Were you aware of it? Did you know about it prior to booking it?
About it. And obviously when they came to me, I watched that first season. And then for those who don't know, as you said, it started as a show, Sasuke, and in Japan, it was almost tongue in cheek. Those, MXC, there were these over the top obstacle type shows, but there was always a fair amount of humor in it. And then when it came to America, it just started becoming more and more athletic, more serious. And, it's kind of morphed into the show. It's honestly, it's like America's Got Talent. When you go back and you watch the first season, like Jerry Springer and David Hasselhoff, it was a step above the Gong Show. And our show started out and quite quickly we saw the unbelievable athleticism, but then we started to find the stories and just find these exceptional people who were drawn to doing this. So the show completely, has really undergone this massive change. And now, there are gyms in every state in the country. It's unbelievable. There are, kids grow up and they play football, they play basketball, they do Ninja Warrior. It's been unbelievable seeing the growth of this.
Oh, that's incredible. And obviously it's grown in such a way that, there was the initial idea, and then there was like the USA versus the world and the All-Stars. And
we did Ninja versus Ninja. We do All-Stars. Yeah, we have the kids version.
The juniors.
Yeah, it's been incredible just seeing, and now it's all around the world. It started in Japan. It came here, and it went bankrupt in Japan. And then our version helped bring it back in Japan and then go worldwide. And it is all around the globe now. There's Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, one of my favorites was when all the kind of American All-Stars went and ran the Japanese course and got that experience. But yeah, to see it. And then, obviously I was a huge fan when, I think it was season 2 or 3, when they went the military route, right? They did they brought all the vets. I saw PJ get out there and do it.
That was it. We did that down in, the USS Iowa, I think it was Iowa, and a battleship there down near Long Beach and San Pedro, California. We had the military. It was all the branches of the military. We were actually going to do Army versus Navy versus Air Force versus Marines versus Coast Guard, but the Department of Defense was like, nope, we're not pitting the branches against each other. And we were going to do it on a base. There was actually talk at one point of putting the course on an aircraft carrier, but it got a little tricky with the Pentagon involved. So we ended up just kind of doing it there. But yeah, I think with Ninja Warrior, there are a lot of times we see people who are soldiers. We see people who are police officers or firefighters or first responders. There's just something about, I think, that breed of person who's called to do something more with their lives that end up being great on the show.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously it makes for great stories and great clips. But it's also, again, knowing I was a veteran, we did obstacle courses. We did these things where we challenged ourselves, and we loved it. We thrived on it. I loved going to the range and doing these things. There's a question from the audience. I'd love to know if he has an approximate count of how many times Akbar has said, "I see you."
What's infinity? Infinity minus one. That's about how many times. Yeah.
There you go.
He's got, that's his signature. I see you.
Yep.
And keep the L's. Keep the L's. Those are the things.
Yep.
Akbar is. Yeah. It's been a ton of fun working with him. He is a wonderful human being, and I consider myself enthusiastic. He matches me absolutely.
He brings that professional athlete intensity to it. You guys really the yin and the yang. You guys mesh well. It's fun. It's fun to watch, and you got to think. It's been Emmy nominated 4 times. Yeah. And you got to. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think a lot of that leans on you guys, right? Because I
always say that. The best is the host.
Obviously. Well, I mean, because
you didn't know that too. And it's been really fun being a part of the show and getting to be the voice of the show. And we always love what we bring to it. But the stories we get to tell, the performances we get to talk about, it's amazing. We have a pretty easy job when it comes down to it. But that I will never tell NBC.
There you go. That's a smart thing. Another question from Chad. I want to hear, how far have they pushed the envelope with the show? What are some of maybe the deadly ideas that were shot down for insurance purposes?
Yeah, obviously the safety is always a key concern. But so we do an all-star and skills special where we really will test the limits of the ninjas, where we do a Super Sam ladder that goes up 35 rungs. But we've done some where we have them doing laches where they're launching their body. And that was when the obstacles were very cautious, because the reality is, for an obstacle, we have people who are 4 feet 10 up to 6 feet 10. We have people who are 80 pounds up to 270 was someone. And, we have young people now as young as 19 up to, we've had 70-year-olds, men, women, all differently abled people. You all want them to have a reasonable chance, or at least a shot at completing an obstacle.
Sure.
But in the skills competition, it's like, hey, all bets are off. This is just testing the limits of human ability. And when we started seeing, we would see them launching and trying to catch themselves when they were flying sometimes over 20 feet in the air. And we saw a couple times they were catching on a cargo net, and you just saw they're going to, we thought they might tear their arms off of their bodies.
Oh my God.
And that was when we said, okay, we're actually stopping this. We're going to declare it a tie because we think the next one, somebody could lose an arm. Wow. So that's been it. The amazing thing is, for as athletic as the show is, and for how much these athletes will throw themselves into it, we've had precious few really serious injuries. We've had some knees and some shoulders, but we've been very fortunate. I think it's also because our crew works so hard to try to make it safe and to keep these athletes from just destroying themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, for when I get on the course, it's out the window because awesome.
All the bets are off. And okay, so you've also, we've touched on it. You were a part of the 15th. I love this. This is my favorite. The 15th overall season of Celebrity Apprentice. Or I'm sorry, The Apprentice, which was the 8th season of Celebrity Apprentice, which was the first season of New Celebrity Apprentice with Arnold. So all that in one, and you won, which is incredible. Is Arnold Schwarzenegger everything we believe him to be in person?
More. He is a force of nature, and that's been one of the things I think that getting to meet him and staying friends with him, and we do quite a bit together. And my birthday is in January, and this year I went to Austria with him, and we did an event over there. And he is. I've never seen somebody with such a magnetic personality, a force of just his iron will and a vision and a desire to execute it and an ability to flow between, kids still recognize him. And we were at an event in Austria with politicians and princes, and there was still no doubt who the biggest person in the room was. It's Arnold. And to see how he still has this unbelievable charisma and this ability to inspire people and to still make incredible things happen, be it in business, be it in politics, in philanthropy, whatever it is. So anytime I'm around him, I leave feeling energized and like I've been in business school and just thinking, my God, I'm lazy. And there's so much more that can be done in this world when you really ignite that passion the way he has.
That's incredible. You were in an episode of the RuPaul's Drag Show, the Secret Celebrity Drag. When they come to you with something like that, what's your initial? Is there even a shred of doubt, a hesitation?
I've done drag over the years. There've been enough TV things where things have come up. I got to do lip sync battle with LL Cool J and Chrissy Teigen against Akbar, and I was Cher there, and that's a video that you can't unsee. And I've had the chance. I've known Ru over the years, and just am a huge fan of RuPaul. And that show has been so trailblazing in what it's done for advancing LGBTQ rights. And so when they came to me with a chance, like this is the first time they've had non-drag queens on the show. And when they were like, "Hey, do you want to come on this?" It was so much fun, but it's also a show where you see what a difference it's made for so many people, and for so many people who may not be aware of their or comfortable with their identity or who they are, and to see a show where people are like choosing to be powerfully and bravely themselves, I think it was really cool. And I think that's something that can resonate with everybody as we go through life. We so often judge other people or think about what they're doing or think, man, if I did this or if I could just fix this about myself, instead of saying, hey, this is who I am, and making peace with that and just saying, I want people to accept me. And that comes with accepting yourself. And it was really cool to get to go on that show and meet Kim Chi was my queen. And so this person, when Kim Chi went on the show, his mom, not only did his mom not know he was a drag queen, his mom didn't know he was gay. And he came out on that show to his family and to the public. And he was just like, it's transformed him and his existence. And now he's thriving as, Kim Chi, this queen. And I think when you see that, we can all relate to wondering what we could be in life if we would just stop worrying about what other people think, or if we could really unlock or be comfortable with who we are, the good and the bad. And I think that was one of the cool things about that show is that's really kind of the message of the show. And I think that's something that, I think that really transcends the drag world and goes to anyone, where I think, just really trying to say, and it's, that's the struggle of life, right? Being comfortable with not who we could be, but who we are. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. We've asked you for an hour of your time. We're getting real close to it. So a couple more questions. We're going to let you know it's been so much fun. If we can take a more serious turn for a second, you kind of touched on it. You were diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. This is, 2002, you're 31 years old. That's, again, coming back to 2002, that's right around the time you made the transition into comedy and wanting to do that. What was that kind of experience like? What was it like finding this out about yourself? And
it was tough because I was diagnosed. Christmas 2001 was actually when I got diagnosed, right at Christmas. But it had been a year and a half before where I had been falling apart, where I started to have pain in my hands, my feet, my neck, my back. I was getting, I had stiffness. I was having trouble getting out of bed. I couldn't work out. I was gaining weight. I had no energy. I was lethargic. I just became a shell of myself over about a year and a half. And I eventually, and I was getting tested. I was going in. I was like, something's wrong. They couldn't find anything. They just kept saying, we can't find anything. Maybe you're just tired, or maybe you just need to try, changing your diet, something. And so after 18 months, when I finally got the diagnosis, rheumatoid arthritis, it's a chronic autoimmune disease. There's no cure. And when they told me that I had it, I was relieved because I had an answer, because it had been 18 months where I knew something was wrong. I felt my body betraying me, and I felt like I was becoming an old man. And now I had an answer. I knew, okay, I'm not going crazy. There's actually something wrong. And now I know this is the fight I'm in. This is what we're going to do. And I was very fortunate that there was a new treatment that had come out just a couple years before. And that treatment was a silver bullet for me. And it really gave me my life back. And that's one of the reasons I've been so involved with the Arthritis Foundation is I'm lucky. I'm lucky that there was a treatment and that I responded to it, and that I'm still responding to it. Fingers crossed it'll continue. But I see how many people had RA before these treatments, or who don't respond to them, or have other issues. And so, I think I want other people to have the luck or the response that I've had. But also, I also felt it was really important to talk about my story, because when I was diagnosed, I'm a doctor. My dad's a doctor. My friends are doctors. I knew about rheumatoid arthritis, but I didn't know anyone who had it, particularly a youngish guy. It's a disease that primarily affects women and women in their 50s. So here I'm a young guy, and I'm looking around going, I don't know anyone like me who has it. And I thought, I don't want anyone else to go through that. And also, especially when I got on the other side of it and I started doing well and my career was taking off, there's a fear when you're diagnosed, when you're facing something, that it's going to be that worst case scenario. When you open a textbook, you see people in wheelchairs, you see people confined to things. And I thought, I want people to see the other side. I want people to see someone who's doing well living with this disease, and to try to say, hey, it's something that has definitely impacted my life, and it's still a challenge, but I'm out here. I'm hosting American Ninja Warrior. I'm winning Celebrity Apprentice. I'm still doing comedy. Like you can have this full life. And I think that's the kind of thing about letting people know. It's scary. You go through some times particularly when you're faced with a new challenge, whether it's a disease or an accident or whatever it is. And I think those are times where the love of your family, of your friends, the support of doctors is great. But there is a point where you really want to say, I want to know someone who's been through this. I want to know someone who's been in these shoes and who's come out the other side. And I think trying to be that and trying to build that community for people is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo everything you're saying. As a disabled veteran, I have physical issues, but I've also suffered from PTSD. And I always say that, the media and all that, they portray, and rightfully so, that there's anger and all these outbursts and violence, but a lot of guys are depressed and anxious and anxiety and socially awkward, and that it's okay. I suffer from it. I now put myself in a platform where I get to interview people of merit and put myself out there. So it's okay, and you can do well even when you're living with these conditions, these issues, and whatnot. You also had a bit of a scare with cancer.
Yeah. So I had a tumor on my kidney. They only found it because they got a CAT scan. They're actually looking for something because of the rheumatoid arthritis. They got this CAT scan that just coincidentally or luckily found the tumor on my kidney, showed this tumor on my kidney. They're like, there's a solid mass in your kidney. You got to get that checked out. I go, and it was malignant. And the doctor was like, you're unbelievably lucky that we caught this early, because I had surgery. I reached, that was 2007. 2017 was 10 years. I'm considered cured. He's like, if we hadn't found this, you probably would have realized you had it when it had metastasized, and your survival rate would have dropped below 50%. So the rheumatoid arthritis likely saved my life from cancer. And, it's my experience with cancer was very unusual, where they found this tumor, they operated on me, they told me it was malignant, but in the same breath he said, but because we caught it early, you have a 95% chance of beating this. You're not going to need chemotherapy or any other surgery. We're just going to monitor you. So I was, an unbelievably, if you're going to have cancer, that's the kind you want, where you told you have it and you're probably going to be okay in the same breath. But again, I was at the City of Hope, this cancer hospital out in California. One of the things that struck me, I was walking up and they have there was a brick walkway going up there, and there were names on there, and all the bricks were in memory of. And as you're walking up to this cancer hospital, it's hard not to realize, hey, these people all came here, and they're no longer with us. And it's that sobering thought of, oof, this is the fight. And, for me, it was just such an unbelievably lucky and fortunate journey. But again, it's, something I work with the American Cancer Society, and just anytime I can, try to advance that cause, because the reality is, unfortunately, cancer is going to touch all of us, whether it's directly ourselves or someone we love or someone we know.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you so much about opening up, and you never know who's out there that maybe needs to hear something, or maybe hears those magic words that goes, oh my God, that lit a fire under me. I know I'm going to clip sections out of this interview and use it to motivate myself. You got me.
I appreciate it.
You got me fired up, man. I want to thank you so much. This has been a fantastic thing. I want to give you the last 4 or 5 minutes here. I mean, plug whatever social medias you have, wherever people can find you, your work. Go, yours.
Yeah, look, I'm on social media way too much at Matt Iseman, MattisEman, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And you can catch Live Rescue every Friday night on A&E. We'll be live for 3 hours this Friday night. You'll get to see me doing my wildfire fighting training with San Bernardino. And I have a podcast, Factorious Game Show, every Tuesday. Other than that, I appreciate the opportunity to come on here, CQ. I'm a supporter of ASAP and of our vets, and any friend of PJ's is a friend of mine. He's one of my good friends.
He's an awesome guy. We've had him on the show multiple times, and I'll continue having him on the show, because every time it's a blast. But you are always welcome to come back anytime you want. Buddy. Promote anything you have. Guys, please give a big round of applause for PJ. I was going to say PJ. Watch, I'm so sorry.
Let's go for PJ too.
Give it up for PJ for bringing this together, and for Matt for taking the time. Thank you so much, Matt Iseman. Guys, we'll be back after a short break. We'll see you soon. Shots.